Talk about SME business support. You two have been involved in this collectively for the last 40 years, so huge depth and experience and knowledge of what good looks like in terms of business support, growth, productivity. A number of programs in terms of everything from concept ideas, mobilisation, implementation, performance management, and importantly, increasingly important, the use of data analytics in terms of what does good look like and learning from that experience. So it'd be useful just to introduce yourself in terms of your role in Exemplas, and then I'd like to just pose some questions to really tease out some of that experience, particularly now we have a new government in place, and to see how that might play into some of their policies and agendas that are going forward around particularly business support, growth and productivity. So Martin.
Thank you, David. It's good to be here with you this morning. So I'm Martin Coates and I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Exemplas. I've been working with Exemplas and you, David, for the last 2.5 years, over which I think we've been hugely successful in terms of securing new contracts, and new geographies and different themes of business support that we're now delivering. And prior to that, I've been working within the business support economic development landscape for the last 18 years, working with a lot of private sector organisations to understand what's good, what isn't so good, and a few scars on the way, which helps you to learn to make improvements as we go along. James.
Thanks, Martin. So I'm James Lane, Head of Programme Delivery at Exemplas. I worked in the industry for too many years, 20 plus years. And like Martin, I've many scars, but also a lot of highlights during that time. I've currently got a portfolio with Exemplas in West Yorkshire. So we have productivity, growth, exports and leadership programs in West Yorkshire that I'm responsible for, and also more generic business support in Leicestershire, and also our first foray into productivity outside of West Yorkshire in Leicester City as well. So keen to talk about some of my experiences with you today.
Fantastic, thank you. So let's start with perhaps a more sort of straightforward question in terms of what do SMEs look for in a business support programme, and what does good look like for them?
What do SMEs look for in business support? Well, it's a really good question because ultimately there are a whole array of different types of SMEs. I mean, SMEs make up 97, 98, even 99% of the number of companies in the, or the proportion of companies in the local economy, and employ around 60% or just shy of 60% of UK PLC workforce. So they are the backbone, spine of UK PLC. When it comes to business support and what they look for, I think the first thing they look for is something that resonates with them, something that means something to them, something they understand that they would need. It's going to help them to make improvements. And I think the second thing they look for is something that they believe they can actually extract some value from, whether that value is around knowledge, that they can apply into their business to help them make improvements. Or it might be someone telling them what they need to do, and maybe a consultant actually making those changes for them. Whether the consultancy route is as hard-hitting because they haven't done it themselves, but ultimately they want to extract some form of value from the programme that's going to help them to make improvements. I think over the years as well, James, we know full well that there are a lot of companies who want money. They want grants, don't they?
They do. I think the key thing for me over the last 20 years, of all different shapes and sizes of SME business support programs, is you have to be cognizant of the fact that these are busy people. They're trying to make a living, and ultimately you've got to get their attention, but you've also got to prove to them that fundamentally it's worth their time investment with us. And therefore you've got to make a program easy to access, really simple, but also make sure that the value proposition to them is going to have a return on investment. I.e., if they're going to spend 3 months of their time engaging with us, what are they going to get from it? And if you can't articulate that up front, or indeed, as Martin said, their need for some form of co-investment to help them along the way, is they're simply not going to engage. And if they do engage, they won't engage 100%, and therefore you're not going to get the outcomes and outputs that the funders originally commission you to actually deliver these programs for.
I think over the last few weeks, well, definitely over the last 20 years, this is just building on the point around companies wanting money, wanting grants. And there are companies over the years that have just, they make inquiries because they want money. And I think there is a perception, or possibly a misconception now, that companies don't want money. And I've been engaging with a number of programs, people that run different programs around the country, saying that companies still ring because they want free money. And one of the programs we're running up in Yorkshire, David, West Yorkshire, the Business Productivity Service, when that was put together, James and I were a little bit nervous that the companies were going to be forced upon us because there was a big grant pot associated with the program, and companies that were applying for the grants were going to be forced upon us to come through our productivity program. And what we've actually noticed that companies that have applied to access the capital grant money have actually come onto our program and realised that they don't need capital grants, and the service and support we're providing them with has actually added so much value. They recognise there's more things to do within their business than just access the money that may buy some capital equipment. But I think the other thing is that companies look for when they're accessing business support is they want people they can trust, people they know are experienced, people who can add value to their company. And as James, you've just said, they are very busy people, very, very busy people, and they want that ease of access, as James has said, to work with people they know who are credible, are experienced, can understand their business and empathise the position they're in and help to solve their problems or exploit the opportunities they've got in front of them.
I think the other key point on that, Martin, that's really important that we shouldn't lose fact of is that the quality of our staff, the advisors that navigate through the customer journey and take the SME owner managers through this is crucially important. So any SME is not an identikit. It's, as Marty said earlier, a huge volume of SMEs, different shapes and sizes, different pain points and challenges, and different personalities. And ultimately, if you try and put everybody through the same process in the same way, is that you're not going to get the right impact. So a lot of the skills here, and this is where the SMEs engage with us or not, owner managers, is if we can actually tailor the support to their specific needs. So yes, we have parameters that we can work within, but unless we bespoke the type of support to the particular needs of that SME, is that actually the outcomes are significantly diminished. And that comes down to the quality of people that we employ in the teams to work on an individual basis with individuals, and that's really, really important.
I'd turn the question around to you, David, in terms of if we wanted to make an improvement to our business and we were reaching out to people to help us either overcome a barrier or a problem that we've got, or we want to make an improvement, what do you look for as a CEO of our business? And ultimately, we're an SME. What do you look for when people are looking to, when you need some support?
You know, to some extent, you both have answered it. What you're looking for is something that I recognise there's a need. I understand it. It's clear. For me, particularly, it's important in terms of who's fronting that conversation, in terms of their credibility. Do they understand me and my business and my pain points, that I'm going to trust them and I'm going to put time and energy into that individual. And it also, I think one of the challenges of business support is that degree of flexibility. You know, you never know from one day to the next what your commitments are, the challenges, and you often have to reprioritise and change. And so the degree to which these programs can be flexible and agile to meet the needs of the business without losing sight of you've got to keep them on it to be able to get to the other end. I think for me it is an area that needs to be explored further. So this notion of a start point and an end point, as opposed to sprints, to be able to work through those challenges and outcomes. But fundamentally it's about, do I trust the person on the other side of the table? Do I think they know something I don't that's going to add value to the business? And making sure it's clear and concise, that I understand what I'm buying into.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff we've spoken about, which is stuff we know companies look for but don't know they're looking for, and that's when they're in the programme. But before they come into the programme, it is all around, do I need the service? Is it going to add value to me? So does it resonate with me as an SME owner, business owner? Does it resonate? Is it required? And am I going to extract value from it? When you're inside the programme, it's a little bit different. It's about minimising their time and maximising the value, the time that they will spend on the programme.
But the difficulty is, therefore, is a lot of SMEs don't know what their problem is. So how do you actually capture their imagination to bring them into our sphere of influence to actually then identify the real pain points and challenges for growth? It's always the hardest part, is attracting them in the first place. And of course, funding authorities are slightly obsessed with the fact they're trying to engage rightly for organisations that have not previously engaged with business support previously. Because as Marty said earlier, it's all about driving regional economic growth, and therefore if you just continue to help the same batch of organisations and entrepreneurs, is that you only get a certain amount of traction. So the aim here is to try and broaden the amount of people and the reach that the programmes have, and therefore you've got a better chance of shifting the regional economy on. But actually articulating that value proposition is one of our biggest challenges, and working with funding authorities to get that right is always the start of every successful programme. But it's difficult. It's difficult to get right.
You've used the word twice now, value proposition, and when we're involved in business support, there's so many buzzwords or terms that are used, overused, misused, and misunderstood. And I think value proposition is definitely one of them. And you hear people saying, our value proposition, or what is the value proposition? And when you ask them what is meant by a value proposition, they struggle to articulate it. So for us, a value proposition is something that a service that we provide that we can articulate really clearly what an SME, the value an SME will actually extract from the service that we provide, and the benefits that we'll add to them.
Hence why it's so important, the first conversation we have with an SME. So where possible, we make the ease of access we referred to before as simple as possible. Simple expression of interest form. Don't ask for too much detail. To make it as easy as possible for us to start that engagement process, and that human interaction is really important, as Martin's alluding to, because we can articulate the feature, advantages and benefits of the value proposition to the SME owner manager far better than you can ever do over a website or social media. It needs that human interaction for us to actually capture the imagination.